Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the session on the West Midlands Health and Wellbeing Innovation Network, and thank you very much for joining us. We're hoping you enjoy the session. We've got some information to give you about what it's all about, the people that we're looking for to recruit to it. This session particularly will focus on the advisory and executive roles that will lead us and support us in the programme. Just a couple of bits of housekeeping. We are recording the session. We would like you to put questions and answers in the question box. I'm not muted. Okay, sorry, apologies, slight glitch. I had a note to say I was muted, but I don't think I am. Anyway, I will continue. So we are live, we are being recorded. You're able to answer questions through the Q&A box if you would, please, and we will answer those at the end. Feel free to put them in anytime you like, but there will be time to do it at the end. So I hope you enjoy the session. I'm now going to introduce you to our collaborators and fellow panellists on the session today. So we've got David Hardman, who's the Managing Director of Bruntwood SciTech, based in Birmingham. We've got David Plum, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at the University of Warwick. Me, I'm Wendy Coy, Director of Operations here for Innovation at the University of Warwick. And we've also got Lucy Gilbert joining us, and she is from the University Hospitals Coventry and Warwickshire. Next slide, please. So up on the screen now, there's a summary for you to have a look at that just tells you really why we're here and what we're doing and how we got to be where we are. And we all know that health is a priority, not just for health in its own terms, and improving the health of the nation has always been part of government and NHS strategy, but also as the development of the regional and national economy. The health economy sector is growing and needs to grow to help us with the challenges that we have post-COVID and generally speaking. We've got a massive asset base across the West Midlands in life sciences, in health tech, creative, digital, and other transferable industries. So industries that aren't necessarily directly based in health, but feed into that. So things like the creative sector and manufacturing and others. We've got a real crucible of talent across the West Midlands, including some of the SMEs and spin-outs that we've got that help us to build that innovation and entrepreneurial network that we're aiming to build. So the West Midlands Health and Wellbeing Innovation Network will provide the joining up of all of those talents and assets to provide a multidisciplinary approach to problem solving, a multidisciplinary approach to solving the challenges within the health sector. We're starting with a pilot based in the three areas that we've currently got around the table. So University Hospital Coventry and Warwickshire, based in Coventry, Bruntwood in Birmingham, and the University of Warwick, also on the outskirts of Coventry. But we are taking applications from all across the West Midlands and using our networks to build rather than duplicate value. We've got funding, as you can see there, from the West Midlands Combined Authority to initiate the programme, and we're really looking forward to build on that to roll it out to larger and more areas in the future. Next slide, please. So innovation is vital. It's vital to where we are at the moment. Obviously, there are a huge number of things that require us to do things differently, new approaches. Health is a particular issue. Our current processes, COVID obviously has made a difference, but even before COVID and after COVID, there will be challenges for the health sector. At the moment, we've got a huge waiting list for routine ops and the care that we give people during and post-pandemic, whether that's socially distanced or trying to care for people within their own homes. I think another issue of COVID has been that it's made people think differently. People have reassessed their values and they look more to the societal and sustainable values that we might need to focus on. Community is very important to people, and social enterprise that builds up. People want to give things back to the environment that they serve. Next slide, please. So we spoke with a number of people. We consulted widely through developing our vision and our interest in the West Midlands and the Health and Wellbeing Innovation Network. These are just some of the ones that we spoke to around, and obviously there were many more. All of them were supportive with the approach that we were taking, and they want to work with us as we progress. As I mentioned earlier, we're not here to duplicate the work of any area, but we're here to add to it and add value by connecting those existing networks together. We also consulted on a number of internal stakeholders within University of Warwick and within UHCW too, and we also looked at what we already knew. So just within the University of Warwick alone, we've got academic excellence in so many areas: medicine, digital health, chemistry, life sciences, engineering, manufacturing. I mean, I could go on, but we also have cross-faculty collaborations, so including our own sort of global research priority network in health, and those support that research and commercialisation. And the list isn't exhaustive. We also obviously stretch beyond that to talk to people from the commercial sector and from consultancies too. Next slide, please. So the vision will be building on our new unique position. We've got an NHS acute trust, we've got a world-class university and med school, we've got a proven and scalable innovation programme and approach that has worked through Bruntwood SciTech. And we're ideally placed really to find those commercially viable solutions for patient and health-centred challenges. Next slide, please. So what sort of challenges are we looking at? Well, we did speak to a number of people, and the following sort of 3 slides that I'll take you through just give you an idea of the scope of those challenges. So we spoke to our colleagues in the NHS, we spoke to some people within Public Health England, and we also spoke to, well, looked at really what we knew were the current health priorities for the country and for the region. If you look at this one, this slide particularly is around what was COVID driven at the time. So the challenges that we might have been facing right at the beginning, some of these have been solved, but not necessarily solved forever. There have been some sticking plaster approaches, forgive the pun, in health, across some of these challenges, but there's certainly scope for improving them by new products, new services, new commercial businesses. Next slide, please. These are more broadly driven challenges, and we looked around at what we should be providing. Where are the opportunities? What could we do differently? And again, we went to our colleagues in UHCW and other areas to see what the challenges were likely to be for the future. And next slide. And these are slides where you could obviously see where there could be interventions that might be more technology driven, where there might be information and AI, artificial intelligence driven solutions to some of the problems that we're facing and some of those challenges. And work will be underway. This isn't a definitive list by any stretch of the imagination, and we'll be working with UHCW and others to refine some of those challenges before we put those out to invite applications. Next slide, please. So how will it all work? What is it? What is this Innovation Centre Network? Well, the pink house in the middle shows where we've got the University of Warwick and the Innovation Birmingham campus, so Bruntwood SciTech, working together with UHCW, providing the healthcare setting, UHCW providing challenges and ideas, working with us, providing owners, and able to take trials of some of the things that we will be putting through the process. Ultimately, there's a model that requires corporate challenge and funding, so that whether that corporate is healthcare or whether that corporate is related, private enterprise then doesn't really matter as long as the right problems are being solved. We clearly want to invite entrepreneurs and startups and motivated businesses to join in to solve those problems, but because of our unique position, we're able to access academics, clinicians, innovators. We're able to find grants, to find investors, to find like-minded people who want to share and work with us to develop the solutions to those problems and to make them commercially viable opportunities. Next slide, please. So I'm going to ask now for my colleague collaborators to say a few words. I'm going to go first of all to Lucy, who will talk about the University Hospitals Coventry and Warwickshire perspective, then to David Plum, who will talk about the University of Warwick, finally to David Hardman, who will talk about Bruntwood SciTech and also about the programme that we are going to be offering. So I'll hand over now. Thank you.
Lovely, thanks Wendy. So here at UHCW we have a dedicated innovation team which sits independently from our research and development team. And as a trust, there's lots of exciting work going on at the moment, especially in the digital sphere. So we've got a new electronic patient record coming soon, which opens up lots of new potential opportunities around digitally enabled care. We're also really focused on helping people to stay away from hospital a little bit more. So be that virtual outpatient clinics or be that technology enabled care and preventative medicine to prevent people having to come into hospital. So as the slide Wendy put up earlier, we're really looking at how we can use data, how we can use population health management data to understand and start to predict where people might need intervention earlier. So the innovation team here at UHCW are housed in an innovation hub over in the Clinical Sciences building. So this is a large open plan space where people can come together to collaborate, to brainstorm, to work on transformation work. We invite all our staff to come up and use the hub, as well as all the people that we partner with, all the people within our partner organisations to come up and use the space. And the space feels like you're stepping away from a hospital environment and really facilitates that thinking differently around innovation. So the team have 5 main work streams. So most of our work is focused around UHCW, both at our Coventry site, but also our Rugby site. But we do have a new role starting with us, which is funded by the HSN, and will work to increase our innovation activity across all of the organisations in Coventry and Warwickshire ICS, so George Eliot, South Warwickshire, Coventry and Warwickshire Partnership Trust, as well as our CCG and primary care colleagues as well. So our first main work stream is around really building this innovation community and making sure we make best use of our innovation hub. Secondly, we work a lot to adopt innovation, so we've got a well-defined adoption process. So this might be national innovations that we're mandated to adopt now, or some more local innovations coming through the HSN or our links with the local LEP. A third main work stream is around harnessing and nurturing innovative ideas from our staff. So some of these are digital, a lot of the ideas we get are not digital, they're more kind of product design innovation, and we've got a well-defined pipeline where we can progress those ideas from ideas all the way through to prototypes and then potentially commercialising their ideas as well. We also do a lot of work on developing our staff, so developing their skills in creative thinking, thinking differently, but just really to foster that innovation culture as well. And then our final big work stream, where I'm really excited to be working with this network, because this network will be key to this, is around developing and refining our challenges as a trust. So what are the things that are our current main priorities? What are the things where we need to seek a solution for? And it's through the network that we'll be working with them to really develop those challenges and seek potential solutions to those. Okay, so that's it from me. I'll hand over to David Plum.
Thanks, Lucy. Yeah, we're equally as excited. It's fantastic to be working together. I think from our perspective here at the university, we have a very broad and fairly sophisticated innovation district that enables us to kind of work across many different academic disciplines and across different locations. When I look at the overall innovation district, last year we engaged with about 7,000 people in terms of inspiration events, entrepreneurial education, and incubating and scaling businesses. And that was kind of everything from helping students start businesses right the way through to supporting scaling businesses. One sold our science park for 50 million year before last that have been with us for kind of 2 decades. So we see the whole sort of range of activity all the way across. We're also very aware that businesses need investment, and one of the key metrics for us is supporting our businesses to get investment. And last year we helped raise 45 million for our businesses, 3/4 coming from the private sector and the rest from public and grants. So it's really interesting being part of such a broad ecosystem, particularly in this space, because we're talking about health and well-being, but you could equally see digital and data and IoT being part of some of the solutions. And we have deep tech innovation centres, we have creative incubators, a strong business school, and you can see how those different elements could kind of come together. From my perspective, I'm delighted to be working across the region. So of course we're starting with Birmingham and Coventry and Warwick, but actually from a sort of geography point of view, we'd be really delighted to sort of broaden that even further. And if you bring together the sort of the trust, the university and the commercial side, you can see that we're starting to put together kind of all elements of the ecosystem to make something happen. And I think that's quite exciting as well. Working with the trust, we can make sure the challenges are real. We can ensure that we can connect people, clinicians that are on the front line with innovators, investors and people who want to drive through the innovation. And it also gives us a real place to act as a test bed and get evidence for anything new, any of the new projects that we're working on. As part of the West Midlands Combined Authority family, you know, we see this as an opportunity to also expand, you know, outside of just helping health outcomes. You know, we would like to see new businesses formed, new jobs created, of course. And bearing in mind that 1 in 8 journeys in the Midlands is travelling to a health and well-being setting, you know, if we could digitise health and start to reduce some of the journeys, the congestion and therefore the carbon, you can see that there's a very broad impact from health outcomes to economic, right the way through to transport and congestion and carbon. So a really interesting opportunity, I think, to make a difference across all of those things. So super excited to be part of the network. And next I'll hand over to David who'll talk from his perspective.
So thank you, David. And yes, I think the opportunity to sort of innovate through partnership is exemplified by what we're trying to do here. Bruntwood SciTech is a joint venture between Bruntwood and Legal and General Capital, established in 2018. And it's already one of the largest networks of science and technology centres in the UK. We operate in Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, and more recently just taken on a site in Cambridge. Our aim is to create within those areas thriving innovation districts, which means that we're not just about facilities, we're also about curating the community that is within it and connected to it. And that connected to it bit is important because there should be no boundaries as far as innovation is concerned. We all tend to talk about our patches, but the reality is those patch borders need to be porous to really allow the innovation to occur. And that's the principle of this network. With the pilot, we're starting with Coventry, Warwick and ourselves in Birmingham, but we're going to expand that across Birmingham and into Wolverhampton as time goes on. And these challenges will be open across the whole of the West Midlands. It's not just for these particular centres. So Bruntwood SciTech operates 2 sites in Birmingham. The first, which is the Innovation Birmingham campus, which have been operating now for several decades, but under the Bruntwood SciTech brand since 2018, and is busy expanding and is wholly focused on digital. Of course, that's no focus whatsoever, because digital covers every sector. We also, in fact, yesterday launched or announced the planning application approval for the first new building on the Birmingham Health Innovation Campus, which will develop out. And we see this as a key addition to the region, and working with Coventry, Warwick, and the rest of the West Midlands, it provides a real opportunity to create a focal point. So the aim is to create thriving communities, thriving cities, and to do that, we need all the components of an active knowledge economy. And one of our main programs in recent years in that space has been our Serendip incubator. We've been operating incubators for several years before that, and it became apparent that in many cases people with ideas and the technology came forward without really knowing what the route to market was. And we spent a lot of time on defining the market and say, stop developing the tech, let's work out how it makes money, how it has an impact. That led us on to create Serendip, which reflects the whole serendipitous nature of innovation, but also is, in this case, demand-led. So it's about access to innovation for large corporates, or in this case, the NHS, based on need. So the challenges will identify the needs that have been identified by the trust in this case, and in other trusts in the future, and indeed in the future from corporates. And then we go out and we find startups, indeed individuals, startups, or existing businesses to solve those problems. The serendipity comes about because quite often these technologies will all be being utilized somewhere else. And by crossing those borders, you bring in new technology and solve problems with that have been identified, but also allow those businesses to grow through a ready access to a marketplace. So we've moved to the next slide. The process that's designed here actually shows 2 elements of it. The first, which is in the white bit, is operated currently by the hospital trust, which basically utilizes the ideas coming out of its clinicians and looks for a route to identify it, to prepare it, explore it, and then hopefully take it forward into a commercial opportunity. And that has been operating for some time. The yellow blocks are, in effect, our Serendip program, which then this would, the university stuff will feed into. The healthcare professionals come up with the ideas, but we're then interested in actually these other innovators and entrepreneurs coming from across the region, from other universities, obviously from Warwick, but the other universities, also the other hospitals, but then the private sector as well, and across all sectors. They get to know about this because we socialise the challenges. And Wendy's already mentioned we're in the process at the moment of identifying specific challenges that will provide opportunity if the solution can be found. And we create through this the test bed to take those ideas on a selected cohort, usually between 6 and 10 businesses per cohort. We will take them through a program of support which provides business support, but also then effectively relevance support to make sure that what they're developing is relevant to the end user, in this case the NHS, which means we end up with products that are right for the need, very likely and importantly at the right cost, and we speed the process to market. And again, that is a key aspect to this. So it's access to innovation for the NHS, or in the future to the corporates. I should say, from the corporate's perspective, on day one, there is no call that the corporate has on any technology that's developed from this. The intellectual property sits with the startup business, and then that's an important aspect. And it goes then through a collaboration agreement, which we will broker, but then in terms of any commercial deals, that's directly with the finance people. If we need to link this to investors to actually help it go, then we will do that. But what we have found is when we have done that, because the route to market is identified, it's been easier for these businesses to raise money. So we're really looking forward to taking and blending these two programs. So far, we've run a number of these programs since 2016. About 150 businesses have been through this program, and 50 commercial deals have come out of it. So it's a proven route to market. We're now looking to do this with within the NHS. And I would say that one of the partners already with us is the West Midlands Academic Health Science Network, working on the digital health side of things with them. So looking forward to seeing lots of applications and building the team to allow us to get this to happen. Wendy, over to you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So building the team, what do we need to make this all happen? What do we need to deliver it? Well, as you've heard from all of us, we're all really enthusiastic and excited about this. Unfortunately, we can't all do it by ourselves, so we do need a good and enthusiastic team of people to deliver as well. So we're concentrating in this session on the exec chair role and the entrepreneur in residence role, but all of the roles are up there for your information. So it's a small but perfectly formed team we are looking for. So the innovation manager will be the only full-time role in there. And we've got an ad out currently for that. There will be links to all of the things that you need for further information in the next slide, and also Tara will put them in the chat bar for you in the Q&A section. But we concentrate first then on the exec chair role. What we're looking for really in this post is somebody who is a senior post holder somewhere at the moment in a related field. We think this would be great as part of a portfolio career, and we really would welcome somebody who can develop this network alongside their existing networks, and welcome the synergies really that you get from that kind of relationship. The role will involve a lot of networking and showcasing what we're doing externally and creating and nurturing those corporate relationships for the future. We do need funding for the future, and one of the key elements will be that the exec chair will need to do some of that work. So it is not just a leadership role, but also a role that will be required to work at creating relationships to gain access to people who can fund those challenges for the future. So in the other role then, the entrepreneur in residence role, again, another role, it's not full-time. Again, it would be great if it was part of a portfolio career for somebody. We really want to look at people who have kind of been there and done that, who know some of the pitfalls, who know some of the challenges, and who know how they overcame or didn't overcome them. That, you know, failure is not to be feared, but to be embraced, and how you go about getting through that process. Again, it will be an active role. They will be required or expected to deliver some part of the programme, as well as do some guiding and coaching and mentoring in that area. We are also looking for, so those are all paid roles, the three top roles, they're all salaried roles. But the role underneath that, volunteer mentors, coaches, experts, funders, investors, supporters, advisory board and challenge owners. We need people to be working with us to do that. We've got a database of mentors and coaches that we're building, put people on there already, but people in our cohorts We don't yet know who they are, we don't yet know what they need, and we will be looking at tailoring what they need to their individual needs. So we will look for a range of people to work with us on that. There will be back office support, and the 3 organisations that you've seen around the table today will be providing that so that it all works. As you can appreciate, we do have KPIs. We're funded by the West Midlands Combined Authority in the first instance, and we will be held to account for those. So there will be some leadership and chairing and management required on those too. So, as I say, we are super enthusiastic. We really do want people to work with us. And to go to the next slide. There are some links here that show how to get in touch with us. There is a process in place. It's an application process for the Innovation Manager. If you've logged on to this one, then do apply for that if that's what you would like to do. The recruitment process for the Exec Chair and the Entrepreneur in Residence, I need you first to contact me, and we'll be back in touch then with the next part of the process for those 2 roles. So there's an email address on there if you contact us at innovate@warwick.ac.uk. Additionally, we do have a web page. You can join us just to sign up for newsletters, to sign up as a mentor, or talk to us further. If you click on the link for the Warwick Innovation District and the Join Us section, that will give you details of how to join us and keep informed of the Warwick Innovation District activity. And obviously we'll be putting things up there about the Innovation Network too. So I think that's probably enough of us talking. So I'm going to hand back to David Plum and invite people to put their questions in the question and answer section. Type as speedily as you can so that we get to them before we decide there aren't any or aren't any more and log off. So if you can put those in as soon as you can, that'd be great. And I'll hand back to David.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. No problem. We've just got one question so far. I mean, Taya's been busy publishing various links, but there's just one question that's come in. And it's with regards to the potential for duplication with other initiatives, networks and organisations, obviously some of the ones that we mentioned at the start, and some of the tech transfer bodies of universities who also are working in a similar space and connecting others. And actually, by creating another activity here, we're incurring more costs. I think if I can just sort of give my perspective on that, really, and I suppose the first thing I should say is that I run the tech transfer for the University of Warwick. So this is very much about aligning kind of all of those activities. For us, what we're trying to do here is create a outside corporate business challenge led approach. So rather than sort of starting with a piece of research at a university or a piece of technology and then trying to look for a home, we're really trying to be driven by businesses and corporates that might have challenges and connect those with NHS trust opportunities where they see there's real value. So it's very much about a demand led process. And I think, you know, if I can give a real example, one of the areas that the Tech Transfer Office at Warwick is looking at is actually a cure for flu, which is very topical, and who knows, you know, whether flu is gone or whether it's going to come back even harder next year because we had a year without building up immunity, and we think probably the second more than the first one. Now, we have some research and innovation in this space in Warwick, and I think what would be really interesting would be to find the external investors that are going to see us through the first phases of seed and phase one of growing those types of businesses, and then obviously ultimately the conglomerates, you know, be they the GSKs and others that would be creating products in this space, and to think about how we might connect some of those things with the trust so that we've got an evidence-led approach and we have investors and corporates in early in the process to help define, you know, what good would look like and what would be likely to be successful. So I think it's that outside in connection to outside, that's really where we're trying to focus here. I think many of the other organisations are absolutely doing really good research and innovation across, but sometimes I think what's missing is the ability to pull all of those things together, and if we can achieve that, then I think, you know, the opportunity to create new businesses, new lines of business, services and jobs in the Midlands, you know, because that has to be at the heart of what we're trying to do here. It's not just about patient outcomes, it's how do we create businesses and high quality jobs. So I think we are very interested in that kind of commercialization and taking these things all the way through to you know, improve productivity, skills and jobs basically. So let's just have a look. Any other questions? Not at the moment. Wendy, on one of the earlier calls, we were asked about the role in terms of the roles in terms of sort of operationally. So, you know, what's the location? Is it possible to do flexible working? I wonder if you could just give us your thoughts on how the role would work in that regard.
Yes, of course. So the two senior roles are part-time. We're looking at an average of a day a week for each of those roles, not necessarily divvied out that technically. So yes, flexibly working would be ideal for that. In terms of location, certainly for the pilot, for the first phase of this, for the first year, we would be looking for people to be in a roving capacity, really. So we will have people who are able to incubate their businesses or accelerate their businesses through the programme, doing some work out of Birmingham, doing some work out of UHCW, doing some work out of the University of Warwick to our new incubator space here too. So ideally a roving brief. And also a flexible brief. There'll be some times when you might need to be with us to do a couple of days worth of activity, and then there might be a period where you're not required to be here. But obviously we'll always be on your mind, and you'll be mentioning us in every conversation you have outside of your working days anyway. So yeah, I think that probably answers that, David.
No problem. Okay. So I think those are probably all the questions we have so far. Teo has put all of the links for all of the applications in there. Yeah.
Okay, so if you just do the final slide for me. So just a quick summary here of the timelines involved. Clearly there was a lot of activity prior to where we are now, involving talking to lots of people, consultations, getting the bid and the funding together. So we're now in the phase of recruiting to the posts. As I say, the incubation hub manager is out and live as we speak, and we're hoping to recruit to that very soon. And we're also hoping to recruit to these senior posts too. We're refining the challenge, and we'll start recruiting to the first one of those, we hope, towards the end of May. Okay, final slide for me. So the last thing to say is thank you to fellow panelists. Thank you all who have been watching and attending for watching and attending. I hope you found it useful. I hope it's inspired you to join us or to contact us about how to work with us further, either in a voluntary capacity or as part of those senior roles. Please do get in touch. I'd also like to thank the tech team who behind the scenes have been making sure that the right slide and the right people and they're not on mute, and that's all good. So I would like to say thank you to them. Look forward to hearing from you. Please do get in contact if you want to join us. We're really enthusiastic. We can't wait to get it started. So thank you all.